Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, and my friends, we have just a little bit more Project L news for you today. We did have some news a week and change back, where apparently Riot had a bit of a private dinner with certain people right before Evo Japan, but turns out the Cannon brothers, people who are very much in charge of Project L, were also on site at Evo Japan answering some questions. And questions that were, well, very much in regards to Project L. So there's actually quite a bit going on in this interview about the Cannons themselves and their personal lives. I'm not going to cover that because it's not Project L specific, but it is some good stuff there. The Cannons are very important to the history of the FGC. So I do recommend checking out perhaps the full interview, and I'll link that in the video description. But for now, let's talk the Project L specifics. So let's roll our way back around to free-to-play. Free-to-play is a very big decision, and what was their thought process in making sure that Project L would be a free-to-play game? And the Cannon Brothers' response is honestly a very understandable one. They want the biggest possible audience to play Project L, to experience the magic, as it were, of fighting games. And free-to-play, naturally enough, is the smallest possible barrier to entry for any given game. Now, out of the gate in this interview, the one thing they want to make clear immediately is there is going to be absolutely no play-to-win status or mechanics or anything like that. In their own specific words, they will never sell power. So you can maybe buy characters, you can definitely buy skins. They stated very clearly they will be selling cosmetics, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of them. And myself, being the sucker I am, I'll probably buy just about every skin because that's what I do. When I first started League of Legends all those years ago, the first things I did was I bought Shen, and I bought the Scorpion and Sub-Zero skins for Shen. And then it turns out I didn't like Shen, so that wasn't a very smart idea, but I still did it. And if you give me those cool skins in Project L, I'll buy them all just the same again. But yeah, so there will be absolutely no play to win. They will not be selling power in any way, shape, or form. Now, as for the exact model the free-to-play status will have, they're not committing to anything just yet, other than stating, League of Legends and Valorant very obviously have very strong free-to-play models, very proven and successful free-to-play models. And to that extent, they will be borrowing that model for both those games as long as it's applicable for Project L. Effectively, Riot's pretty good at the free-to-play thing, so expect something similar to their previous outings. Now, when it comes to gameplay, one of the things they're standing out of the gate here is they're very open to experimentation. Nothing is set in stone right now, and even when the game's out, things can certainly be subject to change. Bringing up, say, Rising Thunder, which was the game the Cannon Brothers were working on before they got brought into Riot and working on Project L. So, Rising Thunder was a game with cooldown, so say like Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. You did your move, and then there was a little cooldown before you could do it again. And that worked for Rising Thunder. It was a worthy experiment. But in the end, for a game like Project L, it will not be returning. It is not something they necessarily like for the game. Going on to further state that the cooldown mechanic was actually an experimentation in balancing simplified inputs, which Rising Thunder had and Project L also had. And in the end, well, their experimentation was that they didn't like it in the end. So it won't be returning, but yeah, Project L will be a learning experience as well. They are not afraid to try new things that have not been done before, and are very, very open to taking in player feedback as well. So if something isn't popular or if something doesn't work, it can be gone just as easily or changed up. Now onto specifics of patch culture, because I know this is a big deal in fighting games specifically compared to other games. The League of Legends patch culture is League updates every 2 weeks, right? And fighting games, we're not used to that kind of speed. So when asked, the Cannon Brothers state, well, it's not gonna be quite the same. They're certainly gonna be taking inspiration for League of Legends when it comes to like stuff on how patches are done, yes, but not necessarily at the speed or the rate that they come at. They're going to be doing what comes right to a fighting game, first and foremost, versus say what comes right to a MOBA. Now that said, given what they say in the interview, I would say expect more patches rather than not like say an update twice a year or something. They say they like keeping the game updated and want to make sure the game is never in a bad spot. However, they want to see tech evolve and grow, right? Like the usual thing, one person finds out one thing, everyone complains it's busted, and then 2 weeks later it's just part of the game and no one ever gives it a second thought ever again. That's the kind of stuff they would like to see just have time to grow. Because, you know, here at the FGC, God bless us all, right? But we're just a really reactionary bunch, right? You see one combo, one setup, one button used in neutral one too many times, and we'll be the first to call for nerfs, right? When we all know it's going to be fine in the end, for the most part. Sometimes there is some truly heinous stuff, but for the most part, you know, we like going overboard on a lot of things. So Project L will, for the most part, be taking a more wait-and-see sort of stance. They say here they'll find the right time between patches that's correct for a fighting game, and they're also, once again, willing to take in audience comments and participation here if it's too fast or too slow, and will adjust accordingly. That said, I hope they watch out, because sometimes people don't know what they want. Mortal Kombat 11 is a very famous example, because people complained about too many patches in Mortal Kombat X, and then NRS wildly overcorrected in Mortal Kombat 11, and then there was simply far too few patches that did far too little over the course of the game's life. Since NRS with Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 11 are at the two extremes, too many patches and too little patches, I will personally say, if I had to pick one, I would rather too many patches, because too little patches sucks when things don't get addressed. And the final mainline question of the interview was simply, hey, characters, champions in League of Legends, right? What decides who makes it in, and if they make it in, how they play? So first and foremost, according to the Cannon Brothers, when taking a new character in, and it's from, you know, League's very vast 150 plus characters, right? The thing that is number one, which is what you would expect, is it has to take into account how would they play in a fighting game. Like first, what archetype? Are they an all-rounder? Are they a zoner? Are they a grappler? This, that, and the other. That's kind of one of the basic building blocks, because that's not exactly how it works in League of Legends. Now, that said, you also got to look at the source material itself. Like, how do they play in League? Like, say you're a fan of Gragas or something like that, right? And Gragas winds up being like a hyper rushdown dive kick character. That's not exactly faithful to the original interpretation of the fat guy throwing the barrels. You can force anyone into being a fighting game character. That part's easy. But it's got to be thematic to what the actual character is in the end. That's the whole reason you want to play him, right? And they do point out Darius, and we've seen, you know, the very few footage we have here of Project L. Darius. He's big, he swings that axe, he dunks on people. So yeah, that's about what Darius is. And that's about it for now. So just some more details on Project L, a game we're very short on details for, so thankful we got anything. Once again, if you want to see the full 25-minute interview, I'll have that link for you in the video description. And here's hoping at some point, somewhere along the line, we get some more major updates for Project L this year. It certainly ain't coming out this year, so any updates are very, very welcome. So that all said, I guess we're at the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some fighting games.